All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me make sure. Do a sound check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Do a sound check. All right, cool. All righty. Right. Welcome to Trauma Talk Radio with myself, your freedom coach, Natasha Miller. Trauma Talk Radio is a live broadcast where viewers can call in for a candid conversation about life traumas. And before we open the lines for viewers to call in, I share a little content surrounding a particular topic just to kind of open up open us up for some dialogue. So, our opening topic this evening is the intimacy of trauma. Reason being because I didn't realize how trauma was such an intimate topic for people. Very interesting. So, as I've been out and about in public, speaking to people to promote Trauma Talk Radio, asking them if they were open to give their thoughts about trauma, and was surprised at how quite a bit of people aren't necessarily comfortable with that. And just their facial expressions as they would smile and kind of back up and saying, "Oh no, thank you," all in one motion. It made me think, well, wow, am I really asking an intimate question when I'm asking people to share their thoughts about trauma? So I'm curious to know what are your thoughts about that when it comes to trauma's impact on our intimacy. Welcome, 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 Miss Tamara. So I'm opening up the dialogue this evening for Trauma Talk Radio with the topic, the intimacy of trauma and how trauma impacts our intimacy. And even as I thought further into that, I said, well, you know what? It actually does make sense that trauma can have an impact on our intimacy. And if we ask others or one another questions about trauma and what our thoughts on it is, that it may seem like we're being intrusive because it's an intimate topic. And so there's one thing that came to mind, one concept that came to mind as to how trauma impacts our intimacy, our capacity for intimacy, and why trauma, the topic trauma, can be so so much connected to it. I think it depends on where people are in their healing journey. Yes, much trauma is harbored in secrecy. Absolutely. So the concept that came to mind is mistrust. Mistrust is an aftermath of trauma, and all traumas are relational. So if we're harboring the aftermath of trauma, which is mistrust, then yes, it makes sense that trauma, this particular topic, can be seem intimate and it can seem intrusive of our most innermost being, because mistrust causes us to mistrust three different elements of relationship. One, our faith-based relationship. It causes mistrust. I don't know if I really could trust God. Two, our relationship with ourselves. Sometimes we don't know if we could trust our own decisions, our own power to decide based on some of the traumatic experiences of our past that we may perceive to have been a consequence or an outcome based on a decision that we made. And then three, mistrust for one another. So, very, very interesting. And that is really our opening topic this evening, the intimacy of trauma, how trauma impacts our intimacy. So, the lines are open if there's anyone here who would like to call in at this time. And I'm going to put the link in the comments. Yes, yes, yes. Mistrust, faith-based relationship with others, ourselves, and with one another. Absolutely. So the StreamYard link is in the comments for anyone who would like to call in. If you're not ready to call in, let me know if you have any questions or comments in the chat for us to have a conversation, because Trauma Talk Radio is all about dialogue and not monologues. Not just for me to be here and hear myself speak, but we are to talk with one another. So what are your thoughts on the intimacy of trauma, how trauma impacts our capacity to be intimate, and how trauma causes mistrust, which can be a barrier to cultivating intimate relationships? And it's so amazing because even when you think in terms of mistrust, it's a form of dissociation that could accompany it as well, to where we can engage in intimate acts without being fully intimate. Seems like an oxymoron. Like, how does that even make sense? But it's true. Like, I can engage in an act that's intimate without being completely immersed in it intimately, because I'm keeping parts of myself from being fully present in the act. Y'all, this is some good stuff. So any questions or comments? And the link is in the chat. I'll put it in there again for anyone that would like to call in. Y'all supposed to be calling in. But if you don't call in, please engage in the comments. All right. So, hey, Miss Robin. Makes a lot of sense. Yes. Oh, this is good right here. Yes, sexual traumas wreck our sense of intimacy, therefore destroying our godly understanding of real intimacy. Absolutely. And the impact of trauma on our capacity of intimacy isn't limited to sexual traumas as well. Because when we really think about the impact of emotional traumas, that hinders our ability to be intimate. Because intimacy requires a depth of who we are, So if I don't feel safe to even express myself emotionally, then I'm limiting my interactions with others to cultivate intimate relationships. If I don't have the language to express myself emotionally, say for instance, in my childhood, I just didn't have the safe space or freedom of expression, emotional expression. So I never even had an opportunity to practice communicating my emotions verbally, to where now I'm an adult and now there's a lack of intimacy in my relationships because I can't even formulate the words and to identify my emotions, to even communicate them. And the identification of the emotions begins first with what? Our relationship with ourselves. So I don't even feel safe enough within myself to fully identify for me to find safety or embrace the safety that may possibly be in a relationship with someone else to communicate it. I hope that makes sense. I mean, the irony, just thinking about these concepts, it's like, wow. Yes, emotional traumas really create no trespassing gates. And I love this comment because that's exactly what I experienced. So while I'm out and about talking to everyday people, out publicly to promote Trauma Talk Radio. And when I bring up trauma, this is exactly how their facial expression looks. No trespass. Like, okay, now I know you cannot, they literally they write an invisible line and it's like, hey, you cannot pass this line. They safeguard their space immediately. And then there's others that are open. So it just really goes back to what you said earlier, Miss Tamara, about how it depends on where people are in their healing. It absolutely does, and how much they're open or willing to communicate their thoughts or anything regarding the traumas of life. So, absolutely. Absolutely. Mm. No trespassing. My goodness, we need a shirt for Trauma Talk Radio. No trespassing. Because that's like, don't come a step closer to me with your trauma talking self. Oh my goodness. And it's all good. I respect it. I respect it. Gotta respect where people are and let them be where they are. So it is all good. All right. Any other thoughts or questions for those of you who are here for the live broadcast? Um, oh yeah, I have announcements. Let me do that before I forget. So announcements is what the next 2 Mondays we will not have a live broadcast, but I have some treats rolling out beginning next Monday on May 20th. So please make sure you have all your notifications on for my pages for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, even if you're on TikTok, because they will be rolling out on all platforms beginning next Monday, May 20th. All right. So I'm super duper excited about the short clips that will roll out on my pages. And we're just going to get it all stirred up about this movement with really having candid conversations with everyday people about the traumas of life and hearing from various perspectives concerning the traumas of life so that we can become more aware, and more open to communicating with one another. And in doing so, we're helping one another heal and overcome trauma. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming beginning next Monday, May 20th. and it will be on a daily basis leading up to the first Monday of June, which will be our next live Trauma Talk Radio broadcast, okay? Because I'll be traveling. So since I'm traveling, we'll be back. It will resume in June. Alrighty, but we have some goodies to keep you engaged that's coming out. So that is an announcement. Also, my mentor discipleship program for the ladies opens next week also. So make sure you're on my email list. You can go to my website, download the free ebook to get on my email list, and it will be blasted. There's an email blast that will go out when it's open, and it will be up on my website as well. The information for the I Am Freedom Mentor Discipleship Program for women. And if you're asking, if it would be for you, if you are a woman who desires to make and keep yourself a priority amid your daily roles and responsibilities without feeling any guilt or shame, the program is for you. Because that is exactly what it is going to help you do. It's going to help you keep yourself a priority. Hey, lady, how are you? Nice meeting you also. Did you want to jump on? Did you want to call in today or next time? So I could put the link back in the comments again. If you want to call in, just let me know. Or you could call in next time. Because for Trauma Talk Radio, viewers can call in and have a candid conversation. So, hey. Oh, next time for sure. You're driving. Okay. Be safe. All righty. Thank you for joining me. And I'm looking forward to us staying connected. So, yes, I'm excited about your podcast as well. So, keep me posted. Reach out. So, yes, so I'm just wrapping up a couple announcements. So my mentor discipleship program for women opens next week. Visit my website to get on my email blast by downloading the free ebook. And then you'll be the first to know when it opens. And the information for the mentor discipleship will be on my website as well. There is an application, $40 application fee to get the hard copy of the application in the mail. And that's only because I really want serious women to enroll into the program. So I figure women that are serious about their personal development, growth and development, and keeping themselves a priority amid all their roles and responsibilities in life won't have a problem with submitting a $40 application fee. So that's what that. So yeah. And then, like I said, these last 2 Mondays of May, we will not have a live broadcast, but we will have shorts rolling out beginning Monday, May 20th. And I'm super duper excited about that. So make sure you have your notifications on, and they'll be short 3 to 5 minute clips. None of the clips are longer than 5 minutes. So make sure you're connected to see that. All right. So I see a comment. I deal with mistrust because so many people have done things to make me not trust them. Once that happens, it's hard for me to trust them again. And that makes me think, thank you, Ms. Shalanda, for sharing that. That makes me think about the concept of trust. So there's 2 different approaches that we have when it comes to new relationships, depending on where we are in our trauma healing journey. So one is, you have to prove to me that you're trustworthy for me to trust you. That's one. And then the second is, I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. So, of those two approaches to new relationships, I mean, these are new people that you're meeting. Don't know them from Adam. They may have some similarities to people we've known in the past, but these are new people. Okay. So, with those two approaches, which approach is more open than the other? Which approach is coming from a place of what we just opened up about the impact of trauma on our capacity to be intimate? Prove to me you trustworthy. I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. Yes, yes. So which of those two, which narrative is more open, is open-minded, and which narrative is fixed? Yes, the second is more open. Absolutely. So the second narrative that says, I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you, is really saying, I'm not going to judge or prejudge this potential relationship based upon past experiences. But that narrative of you have to prove to me that you're trustworthy is basing a whole new relationship, a new encounter off of past experiences. And it's not even fair to that new experience because we're already assuming that this person is not trustworthy based upon our past traumatic experiences that caused us to have a level of mistrust when it comes to our relationships with others. And I believe all of us, okay? Those of us that are here for the live broadcast, those of us who catch the replay, has experienced both. We've either experienced having point in our time where we was carrying the narrative, you gotta prove to me you trustworthy. A point in time in our lives where, hey, I'm open. I'll trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. And then we've also experienced being on the other end of those narratives where it was clear, it was evident. And the thing about those narratives, they're unspoken. So we never verbalize and just come on out and be direct, like, you need to prove to me that you're trusting. We never say that. And kudos to those of us who just like keep it all the way 100 and do, because I know some people like that exist, and those be my people. Keep it 100. Let me know what I'm dealing with, okay? But for the majority of the time, okay, that's very rare. We don't communicate that, but then at the same time we do. So there's a sound. There's so much that's being communicated, even when we don't verbally communicate it. So when we're on the recipient end of someone that's carrying that narrative, give me a reason that prove to me that you're trustworthy before I can trust you. It's already like, okay, it kind of shuts us off from being fully engaged in it, because depending on where we are though, because if we're a people pleaser, we may be like all the way in. Now we just walked in the door of trauma bonding relationship. But if that's not our thing to people please, and we're more compulsive, or our whole little thing is something different, we wouldn't feed into it. So it just depends on the person on what's the response. But I know that each and every one of us have had that experience where we know that that is being communicated without being communicated. Whew. Yes, it's kind of a losing battle. Yeah, this is like some good stuff. I mean, the silent communications of trauma, that could be our next conversation, because that's basically what we've dove into now. And that's intimacy, though. That intimacy is the communications beyond the communication. And that's why if we're carrying mistrust and we're still kind of caught up in the lens of our trauma, the frequency of our trauma, then we're even incongruent. That's why it's the mistrust with ourselves. Because we are saying one thing, but our soul is communicating something else. There's both a verbal and nonverbal communication taking place simultaneously that's not in agreement. They're incongruent. You're saying one thing out of your mouth, but then there's something else being said with your energy, with your aura, with your demeanor, with your body language. My. Mm, mm, mm. So that's that with that. So our topic this evening was the intimacy of trauma. And we just talked a little bit about exploring how trauma impacts our capacity to be intimate. And the reason is one of the aftermaths of trauma is mistrust. And mistrust is rooted in the spirit of fear. But we'll talk about that another time. And how all traumas are relational, and mistrust will cause us to mistrust our relationships with God, ourselves, and one another. And depending on where we are in our healing from trauma journey, we will either communicate that to others that they need to prove that they're trustworthy before we trust them, or we're open with trusting them until they give us a reason not to. So it just depends on where we are in our journey. And that journey always begins introspectively, where we are in and of ourselves regarding our freedom from trauma journey. All righty. Hey. Well, that concludes our talk for this evening. If you have time a little later on, join me over on Instagram. I'll be on Instagram at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you are completely subscribed. Your notifications are on, so you will get all the bells and whistles when we start rolling out our shorts, as we take a little break, and we'll resume with our Monday live broadcast, Trauma Talk Radio, on Monday, the first Monday of June. Okay, so we won't be here these last 2 Mondays of this month, but we will have shorts rolling out, and we'll be back for the live broadcast in June. All righty, so this is your freedom coach, Nataushia Miller, signing off until next time. Peace and freedom to you all. Bye-bye.